Welcome back. Doing more work on the Miata today, so let's get into it. Already have the interior kind of torn apart here, but predominantly today we're going to be working on converting this to be a power window rather than the crank. So we're doing the Wolf power window conversion here. Bought this from Miata, kind of expensive, but we're swapping out the door cards right there to be all aluminum. And if I decided to do this later, there'd be a big hole in the aluminum sheeting. So got to do it now and prep for that. In order to get the door card off, there are 2 screws under the armrest, one in here, one in here, and then finally there's a little clip that holds this guy on. After that, we'll be able to get it all the way off. So this is what we should be looking at now. And then we're gonna go ahead and take off this weather sealant. The only thing that might look different here is gonna be this additional rod that I've added here, and that was for the central locking system. So I've had to put these guys in there. So I've got some additional things to remove, but predominantly just gonna be these 3 here to get the whole door handle off, and then we should be able to take all of this plastic off. Alright, so we got to put the crank back on for just a brief moment here. We've got that 10mm bolt as well as these 2 here that need to be removed, as well as the window stoppers, which are at the top. It's going to be that one there and that one there. So those are also just 10 mils. Once we do that, the glass will be secured and able to slide completely out, and then have to find a place to set it down gently, because obviously we're going to be reusing that. Got it out. Clearly seen some better days. It's a little dirty. I'll go ahead and clean that up while we got it out. But find a secure place to hold this one in the meantime while we're working in the door. This next part is pretty involved, so we've got to remove the ones located at D, which are 10, I believe, 14mm at D, the ones E and F, which are under the door, and then all 3 at C to actually remove the mechanism. And that's the one that we're going to be taking out, so it's going to look like that. So on the door, that's going to be these 2 here, these 3 around the crank, and then we've got the 2 underneath as well. So these guys are all 10s, and then the other one, these 2 and those 2 are both 14s. Well, and that's the easy portion done, unfortunately. I went ahead and took the speaker out as well, because we're going to need to be able to get into that area to feed the wire through, because eventually we're going to feed the wire all the way through into here, so that's where that switch panel is going to go. So I'm going to have to take all of this apart as well. And if you know anything about me, I always take the opportunity to clean while I'm in there, just because some of this stuff has been clearly getting pretty dusty, musty. So, you know, while we have it all open and all of these mechanisms out, we may as well take the time to do it. So I can't really find anything on here that says what it is, other than left on this one and right on this one. So we're going to take this one, put it on the driver's side, and then that one put it on the passenger side. But it should be a reversal of the steps that we just took. So this stuff is just going to go straight back in the same way we kind of took the other one out after I struggled with it real hard. So hopefully this one will be easier, because there's not that big thing sticking off for the crank, but we'll see. same kind of issues as before, but the instructions lay it out pretty clear. You're not going to be reusing the same holes. It's going to be this one here and then the top one. So I had some issues getting that in, but once I got it there, it's fine. And then you're only using one of the bottom ones. It's going to be the more rear of the two, which, yeah, so there's one there, more towards the rear of the car. And then they provided a bolt for this top one because you're only, again, using one of the two. And that one's, I wish it came with a washer or something. It just doesn't look like it's totally gonna cover it, but regardless, it's in and it's not going anywhere. So now we clean off the window, refit it, and then throw some power to it and test it. So I went ahead and did the passenger side off of camera. Pretty much the same exact thing. I still gotta test these, but other than that, it's in. Kind of hard to see, but that's the after and that's the before, so yeah. As far as running wires in the car, you're gonna have to connect it through here, in through that boot, up underneath the dash, behind the center console, and then over to here. So I went ahead and started taking the bolts out for the center console. You've got two here, one here, and then one on either side. And then you just have to remove the shift knob and you should be able to get it up. And then underneath the center console, this is where we're gonna be putting the switches because this is the stock location. So just remove those two and then get working on the switches. So this one actually just has some double-sided tape that will stick right on there. This guy goes in there, and then the switches, you have to figure out which way's up, which way's down for you. I think that makes the most sense, but whatever. All right, so that's test fitted. I haven't put the actual pedals in all the way, just so that way I can wire them up a little easier. I'm gonna go ahead and take the center console out as well, the tombstone. And that one is just a matter of, I think it's 2 bolts right underneath. So you got one there, and I think that's the only one on the bottom, and then you got 2 in the air vents. So just use some pliers or however to pull these air vents out and then get the screws off. Many moons ago, Brian and I did this. And frankly, I hate it. I think it looks like shit, so we're gonna take it off. So I ended up using the 3/8 inch loom on this side. Managed to get all of the stuff from the central locking system all done. Did some nice heat shrink on there, and then started running the wires for the power windows. And this is the part that I've been dragging my feet on because I hate running wires so much. But I put these in a loom to begin with anyway, just to make it easier. But then you've got to run it through that little pocket, which is right here in the door. So you've got maybe 1.5 inches of space to work with. It's really frustrating. This white part does pop out, so that does make it a little bit easier to get things through. But then from there, you have to work it up and around the fuse box, because you can see that clump of wires there was the one that I did for the central locking system. I find what works best is to tie a zip tie onto the ends that you need to pull through. And then from there, I've been able to pull them all the way through the car. So I've got all this excess and I'll just sit here and pull it through. It still took me forever, and I was contorted under here for a good bit of time, but now we should be done in this door at bare minimum, and the looms are already run, so we're in good shape. Kind of hard to see, but like I said, this is the wiring that I ran for the central locking system, and it needs to go essentially the same place as the power windows here. So I'm going to use the 1/2-inch loom that I have and run these wires with the power window into the center console, because right back here is where you get to the back of this, at which point in time the central locking system will break off, and then I can run the wires for the regulators back to here. Kind of a pain in the butt to see, but that there is the ATA circuit. Sorry, it's the green one. That one's the central locking system, and then this one's going to be the power windows. That one's got constant 12, and then the green one there's just got the ignition 12. So I wired it all up and trying to test it. So the car's not on the ignition right now. And then if we go ahead and get the ignition on, cool. So that all works. Now it's a matter of getting everything back together. So I got a couple more things to do, as far as we've got the new lower seat mounts and then the new door cards. And then that should be it. I'm gonna try and get this one busted out today. I've got the all aluminum door cards from LRB Speed, sorry. The new window shield banner, and then the new floor mats as well. So I'll get these open, show you what they look like. So the new floor mats, the windshield banner, and the door cards. Obviously we're going for a bit of a theme here. I'm super happy that they installed the vinyl on the door cards already, because I was not prepared to do that. And so that's at LRB. It doesn't show through though because the vinyl, but man, it looks really good. I'm super stoked to put this on. I got some dress-up kits for it as well. It's got some mesh speaker covers, and then some upgraded like washers and things. And door cards, I wanted sort of pink, but the only ones they had were like the Arizona Minty Fresh. So it'll do for now. So looking at the instructions here, we have to remove the old rain guard from the original door panel, which is just gonna be this one all along here. And it's just got a bunch of little tabs underneath that are kind of under here. Kind of hard to see, but just gonna use a flathead and maybe some needle nose pliers and get those out. In addition, I bought this sort of dress-up kit from Spinny Whoosh, and yeah, it looks nice, but then I looked at the hardware that came with the LRB Speed, and I was like, holy cow, these things are like, no joke. It's a much heftier bolt. It's got this smaller section sort of towards the front, near the speaker hole, and then the larger section in the back. Like I said, it's just these little clips here that I just took this little flathead and popped them off. Over here it was already broken through the leather, so those just pulled out. But for the most part, pretty easy. I didn't even see it before, but they do already have the slots in there. So however you best go about that, I'm actually may just take and pre-slice a hole so it goes through without any real resistance. And then I'm also gonna take and clean these things up, because why not? Just use a little X-Acto knife and pre-cut the slits, so that way it's easier for these things to push through. This one was interesting. It wasn't out, so I was pushing down on the vinyl trying to figure out where it was, and it didn't show up because this was still there. So I just had to pop that out, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get the rails installed. All right, so test fitting it here. I've got the rivet gun in here. So it's 6 per side, just these little guys here, and then they'll go into the corresponding holes. I'm just putting that up here to see where. So 3 on the bottom, 2 on the front, and then 1 on the top there. So we'll go ahead and get those in. All right, so it's the M6 mandrel. So if you have a kit similar to this, just make sure you're using the M6. So we'll go ahead and get those all in there. Like I said, it's gonna be this one, not this one. 1, 2, oh, maybe I should mark them with paint pens, because yeah, I'm not gonna remember all that. The holes are ever so slightly too small. So gotta get one of these mandrels, figure out the size, and then end up drilling out ever so slightly, just to expand it a little bit. So, fun stuff. So I found the 5/16 fits through it, but just barely, so I'll just kind of do one of these motions and see if that's gonna be enough. All right, and as with anything with exposed metal, we wanna go ahead and clean that up and then add some paint so it doesn't rust. So just getting the paint prepped, and then we'll go ahead and get those touched up. So we got all 6 of them in, and they're in secured well. So I also put the speaker back in. It's already an aftermarket. One of the previous owners put those in already, so that's great. Yeah, so just gonna get those dress up kits and we'll get those on. Got it all installed here. Had a little bit of issues getting the holes to line up, but nothing too crazy. Note to whoever's gonna do this, test fit the door closed going slowly, because I just slammed that shit and it caught on the bushing here, so it dented it. That's cool. So I've just been taking this Dremel and filing down just ever so slightly, trying to get it to close nicely. And yes, there's a big mess, but yeah, it closes now. So and opens nicely. So now I got to do the same thing to the other side, because that one closes nicely, but it doesn't open nicely. So fun stuff, but almost done. So that's cool. So good news, the seats are back in and it doesn't hit. So got the floor mounts in as well, and all of this put back together. The one thing I have a complaint about is that sort of adhesive that they put on the back of this is kind of trash, so it doesn't really. I'm gonna have to get some 3M double-sided tape, which is fine, but I'm gonna be upgrading the center console to the IL Speed or IL Roadster, so that's coming up in a recent or an upcoming video, so I'll redo all of that anyway. But seats in, it's looking very cherry blossomed out. I also have a new shift boot coming, so but that's it for this one. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.